supporters until Saddam Hussein?
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind. Yeah, and this is where I have another issue. We were well aware of Salman Pak, the terror training was going on within Iraq prior to us invading in March 2003. We are well aware of Saddam's financial ties to Hamas and the terrorism that was occurring in Palestine and in Israel. We were well aware of the ties that Saddam had. He had some indirect ties with Zawahiri and bin Laden, to include hosting Zawahiri in 1998 and giving him $300,000 just before Zawahiri joined forces with bin Laden and declared war in the U.S. So we were that was all going on. That was, I believe, January of 1998 when Saddam hosted Zawahiri, gave him a lot of money, and basically gave him the tacit approval for Zawahiri and Al Qaeda to do what they were going to do. I was in Iraq last summer, and I asked one of the Iraqi generals that I was interviewing, what was the connection between bin Laden and Saddam? And he said, they had an association. Bin Laden had more of an association with the Iraqi intelligence services, but that Saddam didn't really need bin Laden personally. That Saddam thought he was bigger than bin Laden, and didn't think that he needed to, bond with bin Laden, although he tacitly supported their operations. So that was he said. I said, well, what was the connections as well? They had communications, especially between the Iraqi intelligence forces and bin Laden. Zawahiri had visited at least one occasion, possibly twice. Saddam gave Zawahiri a lot of money, and there were communications between the Iraqi intelligence services and Al Qaeda prior to the embassy bombings in '98, and there were also intelligence communiques between them and Al Qaeda prior to the Cole. So the USS Cole bombing. So there was a relationship.
Can you tell us about an Iraqi document found dated 8/21/2002, where an American delegation was visiting northern region of Iraq and had paid a visit to the headquarters of the Iraqi Communist Party in Shaklawa? Did the Communist Party accuse the Iraqi government of hiding members of the Al Qaeda organization in the region of Salman Pak?
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, the American delegation before the war in 2002, they visited northern Iraq, the Kurdistan area, and they met with different parties, and one of them was the Communist Party. But the particular Iraqi documents, there was a spy, an Iraqi spy in that area, and he reported back to the Iraqi intelligence, telling them that they met with the Kurdish parties, and the Kurdish parties told them that Saddam regime was hiding Al Qaeda terrorists in Salman Pak and trained them on the use of weapon of mass destruction.
And just this week, another defector also telling the story about training terrorists in Iraq. This man, a lieutenant general still in the Middle East and fearful for his life, served Saddam for decades. He spoke exclusively to Frontline and New York Times reporter Chris Hedges.
Does he believe that the people being trained at Salman Park were Islamic militants, or were they just secular Arabs?
For sure they were Islamic militants, because they were all very strict in their daily prayers.
And what did they look like?
They looked quite scruffy. They were certainly not of a military caliber.
The defectors tell of training terrorists in a Boeing 707, resting next to railroad tracks on the edge of Salman Pak. The existence of the plane has been confirmed by United Nations inspectors. The general says he saw two groups of special trainees. The first came in 1995. The second came last year.
How large were these units?
I don't recall the exact number in 95, but during 2000 they were definitely under 40.
What did they do over the 5 months besides practice on the plane?
And the only time I saw them was when they are near the plane.
Do you think that any of the activities that you saw at Salman Park are tied in any way to the terrorist attacks on September 11th in New York and Washington?
That was my immediate gut feeling, and my feeling is there is a connection.
And why did you feel there was a connection?
Because the fact that we had those Arabs in 95 and in 2000 in such a closed and top secret location, and the fact of the nature of the work carried out by the Special Operations Unit.
And they trained people on how to take over the plane, what, using weapons, or how?
وجود إمكانية لإدخال أسلحة إلى الطائرة يدخلون أسلحة.
I saw them getting trained on this kind of situations where security will not allow you to get weapons into the plane. Then what you need to do is to use all available methods and very advanced terrorizing method. These methods are used to terrorize the passengers and the crew of the plane. They are even trained how to use utensils for food, like forks and knives provided in the plane.